There's some, yeah,
Good morning. Today is Wednesday, March the 6th, 2024. I hereby call the Property and Planning Subcommittee to order. Madam Secretary, will you please take the roll?
Representative Martin. Here. Representative Raper. Here. Representative Reedy. Representative Rudd. Representative Thompson. Here. Representative Wright. Chairman Crawford. Chairman Carr.
Here.
Chairman Carr, you have a quorum.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Do we have any personal order before we get started this morning? Seeing none, I'm going to go out of order this morning on one. We're going to go first to House Bill item number 3, which is House Bill 2426 by Chairman Hicks. Chairman Hicks, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I have an amendment that actually makes the bill, I believe.
What is your drafting code, please, sir?
014531.
That's what I got, a motion and it's probably second on the amendment. Would you like to put that amendment on the bill because that does make the bill?
Yes, sir.
All those in favor of Amendment 14531 going on the bill, say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. Thank you, Chairman. We're back on the bill as amended.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. House Bill 2426 makes changes to the County Powers Relief Act to further assist counties financially. The amendment states that the resolution or ordinance to impose a tax must be adopted by 2/3 vote of the entire county legislative body. The ordinance must have 2 consecutive meetings, and the ordinance must be identical at both meetings. In 67-4-2907, the amendment changes the qualifications for the tax to a 20% increase between the 2010 and 2020 census, or a 9% increase over the last 4-year period using the federal census data estimates and must be verified by the Comptroller's Office. As amended, this adds commercial property to the County Powers Relief Act. This bill updates the definition section and changes the definition of development to include residential and commercial property. Public buildings, nonprofit buildings, mega sites, and other buildings remain exempt. Square footage is based on finished, heated, and cooled floor area. In 67-4-2908, the proposal is to increase the tax from $1 to $1.50 per square foot on new and commercial and residential property. Counties can increase the rate of the tax after 4 years by a percentage of up to 10%, and they must adopt any increase by 2/3 vote on the ordinance following the same procedure as outlined above. The tax is due upon completion, must be paid prior to to getting your certificate of occupancy. If a county no longer qualifies under the County Powers Relief Act, they may use their private act, but only at the same rate in which it was previously set. And Mr. Chairman, I will stop right there and might have a couple of questions. I think there's some people that wants to testify, so I'll stop there and be happy to.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For lack of time and everything, the time and without asking back and forth right now, let's go out of session and hear from the speakers. We are out of session, and the first speaker that I have in support of this is Mr. Trey Lewis. Mr. Lewis, please come forward, and you have 3 minutes. You may stand at the podium if you like.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Sir.
My name is Trey Lewis. I'm with Old South Properties, which is the area's largest locally owned home builder in the state of Tennessee. And we're based in Rutherford County, where we're experiencing firsthand the need for additional public services that's being fueled by the growth in the area. Our area home builders have pulled together to work toward a solution, and that solution is imposed fairly upon all development, not just a solution targeting home buyers. For example, in Murfreesboro, we already pay $12,000 per house on each building permit. We don't like more taxes, and with this bill, we're taxing ourselves. But this bill does show that home builders are committed to working with the cities and counties to improve the quality of life in Middle Tennessee and all of Tennessee, and your support's appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you. Just a minute before you leave, sir. Excuse me, sir. Excuse me. Come back. Does anyone on the panel have any questions of the speaker? Chairman Rudd, you're recognized.
Not so much a question, but a brief statement. I have been with Chairman Hicks and Chairman Subcommittee, have been working with all the stakeholders locally and most of them at the state level to work out so we can help the school construction in Rutherford County. And I want to really thank Old South and both the Middle Tennessee home builders, the state home builders, as well as local commercial contractors, and as well as the realtors, and helping negotiate this. It's been an effort. It's been long, intense negotiations to get most of the parties on board this. Our county needs help, and there's no way the type of help that the fast-growing county like Rutherford needs can come from one industry. It has to be a shared. And I want to thank you and your partners and John and everyone else who's worked on this. It's very much appreciated by my county. Thank you.
Well, thank you for your support, Terry.
Thank you. Any other questions from anyone on the committee? See none. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is in opposition, Mr. Nathan Ridley, the Associated Builders and Contractors. Sir, you're recognized. Give us your name and who you're with. You can do it any place you want to. Little red button on. Try this other mic.
There we go.
Okay.
That's better. Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the subcommittee. I'm Nathan Ridley. I'm here today on behalf of the Associated Builders and Contractors, the Greater Tennessee chapter. My clients reminded me to be brief, but I must say I'd rather take a beating than be adverse to the sponsor, Representative Tim Hicks, just on a personal level. House Bill 2426, as proposed to be amended by the amendment that y'all just adopted, does two major things. It increases the maximum rate of the development tax under the County Powers Act from yes, sir.
Mr. Ridley, will you be the microphone a little closer? Some of us having a hard time hearing you, please.
Sure. I apologize.
Okay.
Is that better? Okay. I don't get out much. The legislation does two major things. It increases the rate of the tax from $1 to $1.50 per square foot. It's $1 under the present law. This bill would make it $1.50, which is a 50% increase. And the second thing that the bill does as amendment is expand the base of the tax to include commercial development, as the sponsor has noted. And commercial development under this bill is defined very, very broadly. It includes any business, which includes your traditional office building that you probably think of first, but it also includes hospitality structures, such as restaurants and hotels, retail buildings, the traditional stores that you're familiar with, for-profit healthcare facilities and medical services providers and doctors' offices. The most recent amendment, however, does include an exception for the mega sites. And that's a little bit curious because usually mega sites lead to a demand for local government services and experience higher rates of growth. From listening to the proponents, I do understand that housetops drive the needs for local government services, particularly need for education services. Commercial and industrial properties, however, tend to be revenue generators for local governments with lower needs for direct government services. Commercial and industrial properties pay a higher assessment rate on their property tax. Their assessment rate's 40%. Whereas residential is 25%. Commercial properties generate sales and use taxes and gross receipts taxes for a local government. And often to achieve planning commission approval and building permits, commercial and industrial properties face other assessments and exactions. Might have to help with the sewer connections, might help with the road improvement, might have to help with sidewalks, might have to help with streetlight installations even. In addition, the proposal, as the sponsor mentions, imposes the tax upon the completion of the building, but before the issuance of the certificate of occupancy. That is, before the commercial construction has generated a single penny of income, the tax is due. While the County Powers Act uses the rate of growth in a county for the application of the tax, the existing law does not look to the fiscal capacity of the county or to the use of other local taxes by a county, such as the wheel tax, local option sales tax, or even the rate of the property tax in the community itself.
Mr. Ridley.
Yes, I've got,
Yes.
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah.
may I have a question?
Yes, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My question is, Mr. Ridley, did you have about 30 more seconds that you wanted to give me?
it'll be even briefer than that. In conclusion, Mr. Chairman and Representative Wright, I would caution this subcommittee to be cautious and be sensitive to the volatility of this tax. Wars, rumors of wars, economic conditions that are beyond the control of this body make this tax a very volatile source of collections. And that makes it hard to budget for a local government, whether you're paying capital cost with your bonded indebtedness or a regular operating cost. And Mr. Chairman, that concludes my remarks.
Thank you, Mr. Ridley. Does anyone on the panel have any questions for the speaker? Seeing none, thank you for our speakers. We'll go back in session.
Thank you for your time.
You're welcome. We'll go back in session, and Chairman Hicks, you are recognized once again on your bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You know, this bill is really dealing with growth. That's what we're talking about here. It's going to be dealing with the 4 or 5 major counties that is around the Nashville area, and the reason this bill is important to be done right and include all parties at the table, we believe, is this bill is a difficult balance, and it's trying to balance creating new revenues for counties, helping managing with growth, making sure not to stop growth. I think that's a very important part of it. And making sure we keep construction affordable. You know, being someone that's been in the home building business for a long time, it's extremely hard. My dad taught me years ago, don't ever spend the money if you haven't made it yet. And that's what this can come down to right here, is in the building business, whether it be commercial or residential. It's an even balance, and this thing, the growth can slow down. It would be hard in these areas for it to stop. I understand that, but it can. And counties have really got to watch on depending upon this money all the time. And I know that people in the day and time we live in right now does not really understand that, but it's extremely important to understand that. You know, commercial takes advantage of a lot of growth. I mean they do. They blend right in, and the smart thing to do is most of the time when residential slows down a little bit, commercial will pick up a little bit, and it'll help keep an even stream of money. And you know, I've done some numbers on some commercial projects. And at $1.50 a square foot, you know, if it's a 30,000 square foot building, most companies moving in here, if they come to the point to where they're going to pay about a $45,000 fee to be able to start their project, they're not going to bat an eye at that, I don't believe. And the good thing about this bill is it leaves it up to the counties. It leaves it up to the local to be able to put that fee at whatever they want. It doesn't have to be $1.50. It can be on commercial, it can be 50 cents, it can be 75 cents, it can be whatever that county feels like they need at that time. And I think that's a very important part of this bill that really makes a difference. So it's flexible, it's usable, and it's what counties need. So I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Chairman Hicks. Do we have anyone on the panel for questions to the sponsor? Chairman Crawford, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If the chairman would be indulgent, I've got a couple of things I'd like to say, and may take just a minute, sir.
Yes, sir.
First of all, I want to say thank you to Representative Hicks My county, my district adjoins his district, and I can tell you, this started early in the summer last year, and if nothing else happens with this bill, he's already accomplished one thing, and that was getting everybody to the table to talk. We have had this bill for a couple different times, and we couldn't even get everybody to the table to talk. And so thank you for that hard work. I do know that you spend a lot of time. We've had a lot of conversations on it, and I think this bill has a good chance as far as fixing the problem. Me personally, I feel like there has to be that balance, and you do have some balance to this, but the people in their property tax as well as sales tax and all the taxes included is what's bringing this money into our state government. And I think it's our job as the General Assembly or the governor or government in general. I think we need to do our job and step up to the plate and reward these counties that are bringing the money into the state. And do I think this bill will fix everything? No, I don't, and I think you know that too. But it's a good start. I represent 77,000 people, and the people I've heard from, my realtors, my home builders, they're not in favor of it. But I know how hard a work you've put into this and the long hours and getting everybody to the table. And I think most of the parties are acceptable to where this is at. Is everybody happy? No. Do we ever make everybody happy? Very rarely. So thank you for that. And due to the people I represent, I will be a no vote on this. But that being said, I've never seen anything that I think even starts us in the right direction. And I appreciate you for bringing this. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. Chairman Hicks, you have a comment on that?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Chairman Crawford, for those words. It is, I mean, you know, I think the world of Mr. Ridley here, you know, and he's a great guy. And we all have a job to do. That's why we're here. That's exactly why we're here. And, you know, Tennessee is blessed right now. And we're having some pains now. I mean, you know, Department of Transportation seeing it. I mean, a lot of folks are seeing it. And this is one area that needs attention. And I know this is not a great big fix, but it will help. And I'm just very fortunate to be able to bring some people together and look forward to bringing more people together for a solution to this problem.
Thank you, Chairman. Anyone else on the committee Chairman Wright, you recognize?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chairman Hicks, a legislative intent question. I'm clear on the fact that there has to be a threshold for the then local government to enact this bill. There is also in there, this is my question, a threshold of if things change, you can fall out of this legislation. Is that correct?
You recognize.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That is correct. If a county goes into this act, then if things slow down and they go below the 20% in the census, then they would go back out of this, and they can go back to whatever private act that they had beforehand. So that is correct. If you drop below the 20% of growth, then this would go away. Yes, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Any further, Chairman Crawford, you're recognized again.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I apologize. But Representative Hicks, that question that was asked there about falling out of the qualifications and stuff, I think it would be important to know, although this has a statewide application, how many counties are we actually affecting with this bill?
You're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We are I think it's 5 counties that would actually be affected by this bill.
Chairman Crawford, you
And
recognize.
that is the 5 fastest growing counties in the state, correct?
Thank you,
You're
Mr. Chairman. It is. It's Rutherford, Sumter, Troutsdale, Murray, and Montgomery counties is who would be, this would affect. Yes.
Thank you, sir. Thank you,
you.
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Representative Martin, you recognize.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Mr. Hicks. Representative Hicks, I appreciate your gracious way that you have brought this. I too am a no vote and on this for a lot of reasons that I have. But I'm curious, following up on Representative Wright's question, when you say people would fall out of this based on the census is done every 10 years. So if a county goes into this, are they stuck to 2030 if their growth falls off next year? Can you address that? Is it a 10-year window that you're in this? Or how does that get adjusted if growth stops
Chairman Hicks?
before the census?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
can we go out of session and go to legal for
sure
that?
can. We are out of session and we'll go to legal for the opine on that.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Josh Houston, Legal Services. So the bill requires a county to first qualify under either the 20% over a 10-year period or the 9% over a 4-year period. And then to continue to levy the tax. So if they are qualified under the 20%, so every 10 years, then they would have to requalify every 10 years. So depending on when they adopted the tax, it would run until the next census. For the cities or the localities that use the 9% growth rate, it's every 4 years that have to qualify and show the comptroller of the Treasury that they have grown by that amount over the 4 years.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir. Representative Martin, you're
if I could ask legal a question.
Yes, sir.
Just for clarity. So if a county is at 20% right now, and let's say that a big manufacturer, a Volkswagen in Hamilton County, for whatever reason, was not there. The jobs went away and the county was not having growth. The county could be stuck with that for the next 9 or 8, 7 years until the next census if they barely got over the threshold. Am I understanding that correctly or am I wrong?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So the county would have the ability to repeal the tax if there was something like that, but it would not be required for them to do so. They would still have the authority to have the tax,
So
as long as they have qualified during that over that 10-year period.
So at the end of the day, it's in the hands of the commissioners or in that situation where they would say, things are going south here. We can repeal this if we want to.
Yes, it would be up to them.
Okay, thank you.
We'll go back in session. Any further questions of the sponsor? Seeing none, we're ready to vote on House Bill 2426, moving on to full committee. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. Bill moves on to full committee. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, committee.
Next, we go back to, and I thank them for patiently waiting on that. We go back to item number 1, House Bill 2240 by Leader Cochran. Leader Cochran, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chairman. In committee, I believe we do have one amendment.
Yes, sir. What's your drafting code, please? Mr. Leader?
I have a drafting code of 014562.
That is correct. Motion, second. Do we need to go ahead and put that amendment on before we discuss the bill?
Chairman, I think that if that's the will of the committee, that'd probably be a good idea.
Okay. All those in favor of Amendment 14562 going on the bill, say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Leader Cochran, you're back on the bill as amended. You are recognized.
Thank you, Chairman. And so House Bill 2240, essentially just providing a requirement to report on tourism dollars that a local government spends. They send that report to the comptroller showing that obviously when you collect hotel motel tax, that's to be spent exclusively on tourism. And this is just a report saying these are the aspects of tourism that we use these dollars on. And just an extra check to ensure that that is promoting the tourism industry. And what the amendment did was deleting a section 2 of the bill, which was more about the levying of the tax. That takes that out of the bill. This is just about the reporting of how you spent those dollars. And I'll yield any questions.
Thank you. Any questions to the sponsor? Question has been called on the bill. All those in favor of House Bill 2240 moving on to full committee, say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. Bill moves on to full committee. Thank you, Leader Cochran.
Thank you, Chairman and Committee. I appreciate you.
Item number 2, House Bill 2312 by, Charlie, excuse me, I apologize. Representative Baum, you're recognized, sir, on House Bill 2312.
Thank you, Chairman Carr, and I believe I have an amendment,
And your drafting code, please.
014462.
That's what I have. Do I hear a motion on the amendment? Motion, second, probably. You want us to go ahead and put that on the bill? That would be better, wouldn't it?
Please.
All those in favor of Amendment 14462 going on the bill, say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. We're back on the bill as amended. Representative Baum, you are recognized.
Thank you, Chairman
Chairman.
Carr. Residents of counties periodically owe money on their property taxes. Sometimes they owe money plus interest. County trustees are currently permitted to accept partial payments, like $100 a month. When that partial payment is made in the state of Tennessee, there are 2 ways that it is applied. One way, by about 75 of the 95 counties, is for it to be applied on a pro rata basis. The other way is for it to all be applied against interest. What this bill would do is it would require all county trustees to apply partial payments on a pro rata basis. There's 2 advantages for this. One is uniformity, and the second advantage is it would benefit citizens because the full amount would not be applied to interest. At least a portion of it, the pro rata amount, would be applied on the property taxes, so that in the end they would owe less in interest.
Thank you, Chairman Baum. Any questions for the sponsor from the committee? Seeing none, I guess we're ready to vote on House Bill 2312. Moving on to the full committee. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. House Bill 2312 moves on to full committee. Thank you, Mr. Chairman Baum.
Thank you all.
That brings us down to item number 4. Representative Bricken, you are recognized on House Bill 1535. You have a motion and a second. I believe you do have an amendment also, sir.
Yes, sir, and that makes the bill Amendment 14305.
That's not what I'm showing. Hang on just a second. Excuse us just a minute. Have a patience for indulgence. That I do not show that a drafting code that you gave me. Let me check with my research analyst here, and we'll try to see about that amendment. Okay. Chairman Crawford's going to help you a little bit right there. We're going to take just a brief recess. To the call at the call of the chair. We're back in session. Representative Bricken, if we may, the amendment that we have on that bill,
013374.
that, motion made, it's exactly like the other. Okay. Okay, we're voting on Amendment 13374 to go on the full bill. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. We're back on the bill as amended. Sir, you are recognized.
And that amendment makes the bill. This legislation came from our county trustee of Coffee County, and it's strictly limited to Coffee County in that it basically says if Coffee County acquires any property through a tax sale and doesn't put that property to use, any HOA fees will not be, the county will not be obligated to pay any HOA fees.
Thank you for that explanation. Anyone on the committee have a question to our sponsor? Chairman Crawford, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a little history on this. Representative Bricken brought the bill and brought it to me to look over, and there had been a lot of work done last year and passed a bill that basically does exactly what his bill would have done. So I asked him to amend it to just include his population number, and so it would take care of his county, and that's all it does is add his population number to a current law that we have.
Thank you, Chairman Crawford. Chairman Rudd, you're recognized.
Chairman Crawford just answered my question. So
Thank you. Chairman, Representative Bricken, you have any comment on that?
No, thank you.
Any further comment from the committee? Seeing none, we're ready to vote on House Bill 1535, moving on to full committee. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. House Bill 1535 moves on to full committee. Thank you, sir. Item number 5, House Bill 2553 by Chairman Reedy. You are recognized. Do I have a motion? Motion second. You are recognized, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee. And of course, if we're looking at the calendar, there's a couple amendments we needed to take up on this bill,
Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir. I believe I'll show if your amendment that makes the bill is drafting code 14859. Is that what you show?
That is correct.
All those in favor of 014859 amendment going on to the bill say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. We're back on the bill as amended. Just a minute. I'm going to let you go ahead and explain your amendment as is presented right now. Then we do have one other amendment, and we'll take that up at a later time. You're
Yes, sir.
recognized.
This is an extension of what we did on House Bill 40 last year, trying to find under the sanctions list. And of course, I need to say thank you to the state of Arkansas, its elected officials, as well as their Department of Agriculture through a lot of conference calls. And it's interesting, the Arkansas bill that they put into place protecting the sovereignty of that state, well, they borrowed that from Iowa. So there's a number of states passing this same piece of legislation. So in the bill, of course, there is first, I found through a lot of research and conversation, USDA reports a paper, and on it is foreign holdings of U.S. agriculture land through December 31st of 2020. And in that, the Agriculture Foreign Investment Disclosure Act of 1978 shows within 90 days, foreign investors or persons buying property in any county or any state must report that with USDA. Then later it goes on to say that subsequently becomes or ceases to be agriculture land, or any person who holds agriculture land that ceases to be a foreign person must also file that report within 90 days. And so I started looking at the report. One of my concerns in looking at it, and I'm happy to share this document with whomever would like to see it, I represent Stewart County, where I used to represent Montgomery County. Close thereof is Fort Campbell. So if you look at this document, it has columns. So it says in Canada, Canada owns 0 property in Stewart County. It owns 0 property in the Netherlands, 0 property from Italy, 182 acres in the United Kingdom, 0 for Germany. And then the last column says all countries, all others. And who are the all others? We don't know. They own 34,695 acres in Stewart County. I don't have a clue who they are. So following the lead of Arkansas in this bill is stating if those foreign entities have to file with USDA, they must also file with the state of Tennessee. In this legislation, and I'll move on to other parts of the legislation, it is non-agriculture land as well as agriculture land, and it will become under the Department of Agriculture, and there's law enforcement that's already there with the Department of Agriculture. And of course, that gets down to section 305, 66-2, 305 of the bill. And in that, let me turn to that section. 305, there is created within the Department of Agriculture the Office of Property Intelligence. So it sets it up. The Commissioner of Agriculture will be going through rulemaking procedures to put the rules in place in that. And then also it will be audited by the comptroller of the state. So there's no hiding that. But the question is, how do we hold these foreign adversaries or foreign countries that really dislike the United States accountable? And if we go to the Code of Federal Regulations in the bill, it's on page 3, it's 22 CFR 126.1. There's 24 nations in that bill, but then we're also worried about other parties, and the other parties, it's like Hamas, Boko Haram, ISIS, which is military arms, and of course we know Iran is supporting those folks. So that's in the bill as well. Let's see. So there's prohibited foreign parties, prohibited foreign countries, and then also with that, a lot of folks will. What about the? I'll have to go to my notes because there's resident aliens in the bill. So currently, if they own property, they can continue to do so from those countries. But if they ever become a non-resident alien, in other words, if they're not here legally in Tennessee, they cannot possess property. Let me see. I think I will stop right there and then take questions because as you're looking at the calendar, there's many pages to this, and it's a quite busy bill.
Thank you, Chairman Reedy. Any questions to the sponsor? Representative Martin, you're recognized.
Well, I don't know when the appropriate time is to talk about the amendment that I want to offer.
We'll have to bring that before. We can do that now. We do have another amendment, Chairman Reedy. It's by Representative Martin. Representative Martin, what is your amendment code, please?
015023.
And Representative Martin, do you move adoption of that amendment?
I do.
We have a movement adoption of the amendment and second. Representative Reedy, you're recognized.
I've got concerns with the amendment and what the amendment is going to do. It will go under the page 7, that Department of Agriculture, the Office of Property Intelligence. And then in that, the bill starts out, this part does not impose liability on the persons licensed under. And there's a number of professional licensed individual in the state of Tennessee that are on that. And what concerns me is under the United States Department of Treasury, we've got OFAC, the Office of Foreign Asset Controls, that says if, let's use Russia as an example, they're on that list. Well, right now, any Tennessean, anyone, I guess instead of shooting from the hip, I'll read to you. Who must comply with OFAC regulations? U.S. persons must comply with OFAC regulations, including all U.S. citizens and permanent resident aliens, regardless of where they are located. All persons and entities within the United States, all U.S. incorporated entities and their foreign branches, in the cases of certain programs, foreign subsidiaries owned or controlled by U.S. companies, also must comply. Certain programs also require foreign persons in possession of U.S. origin goods must comply. And of course, they've got the website, and there's other companies that offer websites to help do the searches for sanctioned individuals, companies, and countries. Then the other side of that is the FinCEN, and it's the anti-money laundering regulations. And of course, online, I found this document, anti-money laundering guidelines for real estate professionals. It says, and I'll just read this one paragraph, Generally speaking, most money laundering activities are concentrated into the financial sectors. So the folks that are in the banking industry in this amendment would fall under there. Therefore, banks and other financial institutions are subject to anti-money laundering, counterterrorism finances, AML, laws and regulations, primarily the Bank Secrecy Act, the BSA, and have safeguards in place to help detect and mitigate money laundering activities. But other industries, such as real estate, can also be exposed to questionable business practices and be utilized as a vehicle for money laundering activities. The role, and in this document, there's the role of the real estate agents, their guidelines, and saying you need to know who your business is. And of course, Treasury's actions, the United States Treasury actions. Each year, approximately 300 public auctions are conducted throughout the U.S. and Puerto Rico to sell property forfeited as a result of violation of federal law enforcement by the Department of Treasury. So when we're talking about this, okay, they still have to abide by federal law, but committee, are we going to exempt them so they can ignore or possibly even help the Department of Agriculture find out who these bad actors are? Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, Representative Reedy, Representative Martin has moved for adoption of that. What is your response to the move of adoption?
Point of order.
I'm at the.
You're recognized.
Do I get an opportunity to speak
Yes, sir,
about
you
the
do.
amendment before we?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
We'll go back to Representative Martin on comment on his amendment, please.
Okay, thank you. And Representative Reedy, thank you for your bill. You've been the champion in this House, in this legislature, about working in this space. And I thought the bill last year was a good bill. And I think this is a good bill. I just want to see it be a great bill. And that's what this amendment does. Because what it does is it makes sure that we have the same language that we had last year in House Bill 40 that provides some immunity from liability for people that are realtors and title work and so forth. Because the reality is that a lot of real estate agents, and I am one, as there are a few others here, I can't ask someone what their national origin is. I would get in trouble for that. That's under the Fair Housing. So I think we ought to be complying with the law. My question is being liable for things that we don't know and shouldn't ask. And let me just give you a scenario why I think this amendment is so important, committee. Let's say that I've got listed Representative Raper's home. Just as an example, I'm his agent, and I'm selling his home, and we've got it listed. We've got it under contract, and we're getting ready to close on that thing in 90 days down the road. I don't know anything about the buyer. Only thing I know is the name that is on the purchase and sale agreement. That's all I know. It says John Smith. But 90 days down the road, it comes to light that this is someone who cannot buy because of this very good bill that you've presented to us. I could be sued for taking his home and tying it up for 90 days with a bad actor that we didn't even know. Why should I be liable as a selling agent for something that I have no control over? I have no relationship with that buyer. I'm not saying that we shouldn't be compliant. Absolutely we should. I just don't think that we should make real estate agents liable for the bad actions of others. If I could use an analogy, I mean, it's kind of like I have an obligation to go 55 miles an hour when the speed limit says 55. I don't have a responsibility to be Barney Fife and say citizens arrest everyone passing me going 85. And that's what we're talking about here. So last year, this language was good enough. We were for it. It was a great bill. This is a good bill. This language, this amendment will make this a great bill. And I would ask for your approval, committee.
Representative Reedy, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And of course, I was handed this information last week, and it was for the FinCEN, the anti-money laundering regulations for residential real estate transfers. Currently, FinCEN is issuing a proposed rule to require certain persons involved in real estate closing and settlements to submit reports and keep records on identified non-finance, in other words, it's just the cash buyers, non-finance transfer of residential real property to specific legal entities and trusts on a nationwide basis. Transfers made directly to an individual would not be covered by this proposed rule. The proposed rule describes the circumstances in which a report must be filed, who must file the report, what information must be provided, and when a report is due. These reports are expected to assist the United States Department of Treasury, federal, state, and local law enforcement, and national security agencies in addressing illicit financing vulnerabilities in the U.S. residential real estate sector and to curtail the ability of illicit actors to anonymously launder illicit proceeds through the purchase of residential real estate, which threatens the U.S. economic and national security. So therefore, I believe it's coming down the pike that these real estate agents on these transactions, they're going to have to start asking, who is the buyer? I'll just stop right there, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Representative Reedy. If I may take a privilege here, and I'm with Representative Martin on this, because I'm a real estate agent too. I mean, you're saying it's not needed, but if we put it in there and it's not needed, would that hurt anything? I mean, that's just my question on that, you know. But anyway, that's just a question. Are we ready to vote on House Amendment? Oh, excuse me, Representative Raper, you're recognized.
Thank you.
On the amendment.
On the amendment, yes, on the amendment.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Chairman Reedy, I'm for the bill. I think it's a good one. I did have one question. You alluded earlier to getting assistance from Arkansas, maybe Iowa, and some of those states as far
I'm
as the
sorry,
work.
Representative Raper, that is not on the amendment. I'm sorry. You have to be on his amendment.
Yeah.
If we after we pass, if
Right, but I was getting to that.
okay,
Yes,
all right, we'll
yes,
give it
sir.
a latitude then. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. My question is, and right here, I will get to the point, is on those bills in those other states, is this amendment included in there, or the wording of this amendment included in those other states that you alluded to?
No, sir, it is not.
Thank you.
We would be the first, if we do this, we'll be the first state doing so.
Okay. Any, Chairman Rudd, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chairman Reedy. I loved the bill last year, and I love it this year. We need this, and Tennessee's always passing laws that prepare us for this, and I think the amendment is needed. It was put on last year, and your bill would override that and remove it, since that was an agreement to do that last year to protect real estate agents, of which I've been one for 25 years, from liability, because anytime you're a licensed professional and you have E&O insurance, somebody wants to sue you. We are like the register of deeds when they register a deed. We're not a policing agency, and we have no ability to tell us a client's lying or know their background. On most of our contracts, listing contracts, and we ask, is this a foreign entity and all that? We do the best we can, but we can't guarantee it. So I would ask for the amendment to be put on to make it, like Representative Martin said, a very good bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Are we ready to vote on amendment number 015023 being placed on the bill? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. Bill goes on the amendment. Thank you, Chairman Reedy. You may continue with your bill.
Thank you. I prepared for questions.
Okay, anybody have a question of Chairman Reedy? Question's been called on bill. All those in favor of House Bill 2553 moving on to full committee, say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. Bill moves on to full committee. Thank you, Chairman. That brings us down to item number 6. By Representative Barrett.
Motion.
Second. Motion. Did I see him in here? He must have stepped out. Okay.
I withdraw my motion.
Okay. Roll. Without objection, to the Hill. Item number 7, House Bill 2054 has been rolled 2 weeks. Item number 8, House Bill 2054 has been rolled 2 weeks. Item number 8, House Bill 2612 by Representative Bulso. Representative Bulso, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're recognized.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, this is a bill that comes to us from the leader of the Senate, this particular bill has already passed in the Senate unanimously, 33-0, 2 weeks ago. It does one thing. It applies to subdivisions, gated communities, only in Williamson County that have more than 300 homes and have at least 2 gated entrances. And it allows a homeowner to request the board of directors of an HOA to obtain a police report from local law enforcement that compiles the police activity and arrests in that subdivision over a given period of time. And then it obligates the HOA to distribute that information regarding police activity electronically to the members of the HOA. That is the essence of it, Mr. Chairman, and I'm ready for questions.
Thank you, Representative Bolso. Any questions to the sponsor? Question has been called for on the bill. All those in favor of House Bill 2612 moving on to full committee, say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. Bill moves on to full committee. If you'd like to be registered to know, please see the clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you,
Thank you.
committee.
I'm going to take a privilege. Item number 9, 2347 by, excuse me. Item number 2347 by Representative Travis has been rolled 2 weeks. Based and pending on what action we just took a few minutes ago. And that brings us down to item number 10. Representative McKenzie. Here he comes. Representative McKenzie, you are recognized on House Bill 2725. Motion. I have a motion. Do I hear a second? Counting down on second. Do I hear a second? Final time. Do I hear a second on the bill? Seeing none, sorry, bill fails like a second. Thank you. Item number 11, House Bill 2215 by Parkinson has been rolled 2 weeks. Brings us down to item number 12. Chairman Crawford, you are recognized on House Bill 2217.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
May I have a point of privilege there?
Absolutely.
Chairman, Chairman, I see that this is a tax bill for the veterans. Could we, at your discretion, may I roll that to the veterans calendar, please?
Absolutely.
Thank you. Without question, without objection, roll to the veterans calendar. That brings us back to item number 13, which is my bill. I'm going to pass the gavel to Chairman Crawford, and I would ask Chairman Crawford, I may speak from the podium, please.
House Bill 2368 by Chairman Carr. Do I have a motion? Got a proper motion. The bill is before us. I do see it has an amendment. Can you please give us your drafting code?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. It's 015060.
That is correct. Would you like for us to place the amendment on the bill to be discussed?
That would be fine. Yes, sir.
I need a motion on the amendment. Motion has been made on the amendment and seconded. All those in favor of amendment 15060 going on to House Bill 2368, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. Your bill is now amended, sir. You're recognized on your amended bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If I may take a brief minute and just explain what the amendment done to the bill. It does not make the bill, but the amendment clarifies the definition section that this bill does not affect the Development District Act of 1965. It also clarifies that any infrastructure paid for under this process must benefit the properties in the established district. And also, number 3, changes the assessment language to mirror the language found in the statutes authorizing central business improvement districts. And also, the comptroller wanted this: ensures all documents connected to the process are subject to audit by the comptroller. And if I may take a liberty, Mr. Chairman, in checking this today with legal, we found that there was one numbering error. And it's up to the committee if they would like to go ahead and take this as it is, and then we could correct that one numbering error if it makes it to full.
I think that's non-substantive. It's just a technical error. So without objection, we will fix that at the next committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome. I do see that we have some speakers. Is there any questions for the sponsor before we go out of session? Seeing none, without objection, we'll go out of session to hear from our speakers. We have Ross Smith, Keith Grant, and David McCowan. If you're here, would you please come up to the table? It does not matter to the committee who goes first or who goes last. Just make sure to turn your mic on, the little red light, state your name and who you're with, your position on the bill, whether it's for, against, or neutral, and you will have 3 minutes to in your testimony, and that will start when you begin. So we are out of session. Mr. Speaker, you're recognized.
Okay, I'm Keith Grant. I have been working with Chairman Carr on this bill with Ross here, and just to summarize this briefly, or why we feel this is necessary. We have several acts in Tennessee or statutes that allow for things that benefit commercial districts, such as CBIDs, commercial business improvement districts, TIFs, and also pilots, all of which help in infrastructure costs related to the commercial development. Within this, we're calling it under the RIDE Act, the Residential Infrastructure Development Act. This is a funding mechanism that is enabling legislation for local governments to be able to establish a piece of property as a RIDE district, which would in turn allow them to issue bonds to help cover the infrastructure cost of that. Part of the reasoning behind this is over the last several years, we've seen as much as a 110% increase just in pipe alone, 35% plus increase in things such as streets. And what we're trying to do is keep housing attainable in Tennessee by allowing this mechanism to be used, which is something that's similar to what some other states have used in the past, but this maintains more local control than some of the ones out of state do. And so this would, in turn, by practice, I'll just kind of walk through how this would apply. As a developer would go before a local city government to get to request that their property be designated as a RIDE district, and they would go first. They would go to either the city they're in or the county. If there's a city within a county that they're located in, they have to go to the city. But they would go before the Board of Mayor and Aldermen or City Council and request that they be designated as a RIDE district. Now, that doesn't mean that we just ask for it without showing anything. You have to submit a pro forma, a feasibility study that's done by an outside company that would determine what that assessment would be on that property. It's an additional assessment that would be placed on that property and collected by the tax assessor's office that would help to fund future bonds that are issued for to cover the infrastructure costs of the neighborhood. I'm sorry.
1 minute.
Oh, okay. And so the board would in turn approve that, and then they could approve or deny it. And after that, they would in turn hand that off to either the Industrial Development Board, Building Authority, or they could manage it, that process. But at the end of the day, it's a way that we are able to pass that cost directly to the consumer through a special assessment, rather than being marked up as it currently is. When we develop a property, we mark up the infrastructure and sell the lot to a builder. The lot in turn marks it up again and sells it to the homeowner. This would be funded through a tax-free municipal bond that would be issued by the city afterwards, that would help fund that infrastructure and cover the cost of that infrastructure. So the developer does not have to pass that on. So I'll just stop at this time, and if you have any questions.
Thank you. If you'll just hang loose, we'll listen to the other speakers, and then we'll take questions to you guys if necessary.
Thank you. My name is...
Next on the list is, let me remind you, please say your name, who you're with, your position on the bill, and you will have 3 minutes from the time you start.
My name is David McGowan. I'm president of a company called Region Homes. We've been building homes in Middle Tennessee since 1988. We do between $150 to $200 million in home sales in Middle Tennessee. We are in favor of this bill. We work constantly with trying to make housing attainable. It's not necessarily affordable. I am on the Habitat Board where we do affordable homes, but it's attainable. Most of our homes we sell are under $600,000, and that today is a medium price range. We work with numerous municipalities right now, and down in the city of Fairview, we just got recently a subdivision approved where we're going to pump the sewer from the city of Fairview all the way to the city of Dixon. You can imagine what that cost is. Put a pump station in and to pipe all that over to that facility. In addition, we got to pay fees to that government agency. So what we're trying to do is be able to recoup those costs. Instead of giving it on the front end to the customer, that money is paid over time. So over 30 to 40 years. I'd also let you know that I have worked in the city of Houston, Texas, where we were able to issue mud bonds. This is very similar to a mud district. And that's how they're able to keep housing affordable. So imagine today, the minimum cost to buy the land and develop it is somewhere between $150,000 to $200,000 a lot. The bulk of the cost is the water and the sewer pipes that we put in the ground, the storm sewer system. If we're able to get that money back, we're able to reduce the price of a house and keep the home attainable. And so that's our main goal.
All right. Thank you. Appreciate your time and your testimony. I have one more person on the list. Do they want to speak?
I put my name on the list just in case of a question.
Okay, thank you very much. I need to clarify both of the gentlemen that are here are in support of the bill. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Neither one of you said that. This committee takes pride on trying to be fair, and we allow the same amount of speakers against as we do for. And so I have nobody that has signed up in opposition to this bill. Is there any questions from the committee to the speakers? Seeing none, thank you, gentlemen, for being with us today. We appreciate it, taking your time out of the day to come talk to us.
Thank you.
Without objection, we'll go back in session. We are now back in session. Representative Carr has given us an explanation of the bill. Any questions to Chairman Carr? See? Previous question has been called. It's not debatable. We are now voting on House Bill 2368, moving on to local government full. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Bill moves on to local full government.
Thank you, Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, I was going to recognize you from the diocese, but I got busy writing stuff down and forgot. I apologize. Okay. I will now pass the gavel back to the chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm going to roll back now, since we rode him to the hill, to House Bill 2787. Representative Barrett, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As we've discussed, we're going to roll this bill one more week if possible. There's a bunch of folks that have a lot of vested interest in this, and we are very close to having language that I think everybody's going to be happy with. So if you'll give me one more week, I'll come back next week with an amendment, and we'll make everybody happy, hopefully.
Thank you. Just for your information, I have no problem rolling it one more week, but that's your last roll, okay?
Yes,
roll
sir.
1 week without objection. Anything else to come before the committee? If not, I stand for an adjournment. Without objection, we are adjourned.